Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, April 14th of 2024. It's a beautiful spring day, and it's actually been a beautiful week here in Utah as the buds are coming out and the weather is warming up and the grass is greening up, and it's just such a beautiful time for also the thought of renewal and kind of awakenings and all kinds of things I think come into the human spirit when spring arrives. And here in Utah, we get to experience all of the seasons, which is amazing because I know that every single season that comes, I look forward to it. It's like the summer with all the fun hiking and the heat and the swimming and all of that, and eating outside and all the things that summer brings, and then the fall with the gorgeous colors and the cooler air and just especially where I live in the mountains, the mountains just turn this brilliant canopy of golds and oranges and yellows and reds and mixed in with some of the greens from the evergreen trees. Just amazing. And then we get the cold winter with the snow and the bundling up and the fireplace and the warm cup of tea that just makes you feel all cozy. And I just think that these seasons remind us of how brilliant it is to be alive on this amazing planet, especially during these times. Now, what I really had come through to me this week was the idea of not just the springtime, the renewal, the regrowth, the rebirth, what feels like a total regeneration of Mother Nature, and it is the idea of shedding old skin. And in the metaphor that is, I came up with a few things that just kind of felt like this is a really important time in human history to learn how to shed old skin. And a lot of this can bring a lot of spiritual growth, a lot of spiritual healing, and a realization that we can accomplish and do anything that we want. So a couple things I wrote down here. Renewal and growth is a huge thing. If you think about a snake shedding its skin, or a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly, that's shedding an old skin and becoming something new and beautiful. That's why snakes shed their skin. They need to release the old so the new can be there. So we too must let go of old beliefs, habits, and ways of thinking that no longer serve us. And this is what shedding our skin can do. Now, shedding old skin can also symbolize releasing the past. This is something that I feel is really important because we can let the past define how we walk through life in the present, and it also can dictate our future if we let it. The past is something to maybe give grace to, but not to focus. Shedding old skin often symbolizes releasing the burdens of the past, forgiving ourselves and others, right? And moving forward with a lighter heart and mind. We don't need to carry the burdens that the past puts on us. We can choose to. Maybe we let that define us, and we let that keep us in victim mentality because maybe we think it serves us. It gives us the emotional support we think we need. It gives us maybe financial support. Maybe it can do different things for different people. And what you start to realize is these are really just burdens. And we can choose to carry them around because we think it's easier, or we can release them. It's about letting go of regrets, grudges, and negative emotions that hold us back from living fully in a present moment. When we don't release those things from the past. Now, shedding old skin can also require embracing change, because when you shed, there's newness and there's change. And as humans, we don't like change. We want comfort, we want security, we want certainty. And life is never like that. We must embrace change. And that is part of renewing and becoming new. Change is inevitable. Shedding old skin teaches us to embrace change with courage and openness. We should always remember that. Change it's the only thing that is certain, is that things are going to change. right? So that means if you find yourself in a bad situation, you find yourself being held back, you find yourself being stifled or stymied, or just know that not only will that change, things always change, but you have the ability to invoke change. You can be the catalyst for the changes that you want to see. And I think that we forget our own power and potential. We forget that we're the ones that can be the game changers, right? So this encourages us to adapt to new situations, learn from our past, and evolve into the best versions of ourselves. Now, shedding old skin also means transformation and rebirth. And I love this because to me, that's always exciting. It's always exciting to reinvent ourselves and reimagine ourselves. In fact, one of the things, like I said, that I've really been talking about in other videos, even last week I brought it up. The biggest sign of intelligence is when you find new information, you're willing to change your mind. You're willing to look at things from a new lens and go, oh, this belief system I had no longer serves me. And it no longer, from what I've gathered, what I've learned, if I've communicated with others and I've learned new information, I am able to change my mind. And to me, this is so important because this is a transformation and a rebirth. When you're able to look at a situation, a culture, a religion, whatever, this can cover almost anything. And you get new information and you say, oh, I look at this from a different viewpoint, and now I'm ready for a transformation and a rebirth, right? So it's just like the caterpillar that transforms into a butterfly when it sheds its cocoon, right? We undergo a spiritual transformation and rebirth when we shed old skin. This process can lead to a deeper sense of awareness, inner peace, and alignment with our true purpose. This aligns us with our true purpose. We're all born and we come into this world unknowing, and we have to learn all these things. So a lot of the things that we learn and the belief systems we hold dear are simply belief systems because of the family we were born in, the culture we were born in, the country we were born in. And when we hear adults talk and when we watch the programs that are, they call them programs for a reason. They're programming us. They're programming us. And when you break out of that and you question everything, my dad taught us to question everything and not even to necessarily believe all the things that we heard him talk about. Does it resonate with us? Does it resonate, do they resonate with who we really are? And this is part of the growth process. It's, in a way, it's kind of like, why do we have to come into this life and forget who we are? And I think it's so that we can remember who we are, right? Part of that is releasing and shedding old skin. So what I did is I wrote down some really great thoughts that just came through my journaling this week. And it's been a really, really good week. I think I have some really good things to share with you this week. So I think that we need to realize that so much has changed, not just in the last 4 years, but in the last few decades. Things are really changing. And I think every year, every month, every week, the rate of change is speeding up. And it's just like when technology speeds up, the things that happen in technology, you have to keep up. If you want to know what's going on and keep up, you need to stay on top of change because so much has changed. I remember my father-in-law, who passed away at 88. He was up on technology, with his iPhone and learning about taking photos and learning about what all the different apps do. And, I remember teaching him how to take a selfie, and he was thrilled with it. He was a lifelong learner, even up until very shortly before he passed away. It's like one of those things that change is inevitable, and he was just this beautiful example of embracing change. And I'm not saying embrace the things that are negative and don't serve you. I'm just saying that change is inevitable. So we need to stay focused on forward movement. So as change happens, we need to stay focused on forward movement. We need to realize that we're getting through a portal. And it's almost like threading a needle, right? If you think about this portal, it almost seems like, how are we going to get through this portal of change and opportunity and growth and rebirth and shedding of an old skin for humanity? We have to narrow in our focus, and we have to realize the rebirth and transformation that's happening. And we have to stay focused on threading through this narrow needle, because this is an important portal that we're walking through. And I always say that there's timelines happening. I think there's multiple timelines, but to me there seems to be two polar opposite timelines happening. And it's interesting to spend time with someone, especially if it's someone that you love, that's on a different timeline than you are, because their belief systems are so polar opposite. And it's not even saying that their belief systems are wrong. Their belief systems are just taking them on a different timeline through a different portal. And I believe there are multiple timelines happening. In fact, it's so obvious when you watch people walk through the world with completely different belief systems, mindsets. I believe that we are these powerful, spiritual, endless souls of possibility. And that it makes the world look completely different. You can take every situation and you can go, oh, okay, this is a small thing. I don't have to put a lot of emphasis on this, and it actually changes every single moment of every day. It's pretty amazing. So we're moving into a new world and a new chapter for our soul's journey. I wrote this in the first person. I am moving into a new world, and it's a new chapter for my soul's journey. These are just like pivotal thoughts that come in when you take a minute, sit with your journal, and listen to your higher self. If you haven't done this yet, do it this week. Start today. Maybe when this little video's over, get a journal, get a blank notebook, get a blank piece of paper if you don't have a blank notebook or journal. I have a ton of empty journals, because when I see an empty notebook or a journal I like, I buy it because I know I'll eventually use it. So, make that part of your routine. We are changing. I wrote, you are changing as a person. I'm changing. Every day I'm changing. I look back at some of the videos that I did even at the beginning of this year, and we're only, 3.5 months in. And I'm different, and I'm grateful. So ask yourself this: what am I moving toward? As we are changing and as the world is changing, what are we moving toward? And what is the divine plan? What is the divine plan as you move forward? Ask yourself that. And I wrote this: a certain level of excitement as we are moving into the unknown. We need to embrace the change into the whole brilliance of, this is so exciting. What are we moving toward? When I really think about that and I let that sit in my soul, and I just let that question resonate there is excitement, because what are we moving toward? It is so exciting, this world that is shifting. This is what I get when you get a massive sense of calmness, okay? So this has been interesting for me because, personally and on a business level, and something that has been a part of our family history for literally decades, has been called into question. And it's been a very interesting, rocky, emotional, tough time. And it's interesting because about 3 or 4 weeks ago, so a little less than a month ago, in almost an overnight, very quick moment in time, and I can't pinpoint exactly when it was, but I had this overwhelming sense of calmness that everything was going to work out not just fine, but on this brilliant level of exactly how it was supposed to. So this is what I told myself in what I journaled today or this week. When you get this massive sense of calmness, you've done everything. You've been creative, proactive, and you've been in spiritual alignment. So then it's like we can either sit in anxiousness, anxiety, what's going to happen, we're going to try to force something that's going to happen because we've done everything. It's like, I've done everything. I've been proactive, I've been creative, I've taken care of my personal health, I've taken care of my important relationships. And then what you have to do is you have to move into this beautiful place of stillness and trust, right? It's an opportunity to move into something more fulfilling. You have to have patience and you have to have some fun. We take ourselves so seriously. When what you find out is there are other people that are maybe involved in your situation that are maybe having some bit of control over your situation, and they're not really even thinking about you most of the time, right? And so you can't let it stop your life. In fact, no matter what it is happening with you. So one of the things that actually this reminded me of is I had a very, very good friend who I had a great conversation with. And he had something similar a long time ago happen to him in his business. Something that was something serious, someone was levying something against you. And he said this to me because he'd been through something very similar. And he said, don't let this change who you are. And he's been one of my dearest friends for 25 years and one of my closest hiking buddies. And he knows me very, very well. And, I was sharing some of the anxiety and some of the things that were happening. And he just said, he was empathetic and he was compassionate. He listened. And then he said, don't let this change who you are. We need to remember that as we do go through change and we shed old skin and old belief systems and we go through these transformations and rebirth, there is a core piece of us that is such pure love and pure divine light and goodness that when these hard things come at us that are deep change, we need to not let them change who we are at the core of us, right? That was really beautiful advice. So this is an opportunity to move into something more fulfilling, patience, and have fun. You have everything at your disposal to make magic happen. And sometimes we need to, like I said, don't force it. When I had this epiphany of everything's going to be fine, I just need to trust the process. This massive overwhelming sense of calmness came over me, and it's been with me ever since. My sleep has been better, it's been deeper, my exercise has been consistent, my walking, and my weightlifting and all the things that I do to take care of my physical body has just felt so good. And I just have this sense of it's almost like a nothingness. And that's not a bad thing. Because I think we get on these roller coasters of emotion where we think, we get in these highs of this is so good and we're giddy and it's so much fun and it's exciting, and then we go through these massive down of depression and anxiety and stress and loneliness and all of these things. But when you get into this place of just, it's like just being, you just are. It reminds me of like a tree that stands there and it just, all the seasons, right now there's a beautiful tree. I have a ton of trees in my yard and I baby them, I talk to them and I love them. I'm the one who prunes them, and they just basically, they're just there. They have no expectations. They bloom. You should see the buds on these trees. I have some that have these bright pink buds on them. They flower before they turn into this tree of green leaves. I have an apricot tree in my backyard that just flowers out and these brilliant white blossoms before the apricots turn. You see the little apricot buds start to come out. But these beautiful things, they're just there. And then as the season changes, the leaves drop. They go, first they turn colors and they drop. There's no expectation. There's just a beauty, and it's really amazing. So continuing on what I wrote, trust the divine, trust your intuition, trust that you are being led into something beautiful. These are all things I'm writing to myself. Trust the divine, trust your intuition. And I remind myself of these, even though I have reached such a level of trust with my gut feeling, my intuition. There are moments in the, even maybe in the, in the not that distant past where I didn't trust my intuition. There was a little niggle of something. My ego got in the way. And I think that that's what happens, is our ego gets in the way. So wake up grateful, wake up happy, and wake up feeling fulfilled. What if you did that? What if you woke up and you were like, oh, I have everything I need. And you wake up with the feeling of gratitude and fulfillment. What if you woke up with that feeling? And part of this, guys, is leaving your technology by the wayside, at least for the first couple hours of your day if you can, especially if you're an early riser. Don't tune into your technology. I was walking with one of my sisters this week, and I've convinced her on some of our walks now recently to leave her phone and not bring her phone. And she admitted, I'm addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to the messages I get. I'm addicted to being able to communicate with someone anytime I need to. And here's the thing. And if you're in my generation, you'll remember the days when we didn't have that. We didn't even, when I was growing up, and this makes me sound antiquated, but I'll tell you, it's partly because technology has changed and so fast. Like when I was growing up, I lived in southeastern Idaho in a small town, and we had a party line where we actually shared a phone number with other people. And then while I was still growing up, we actually got our own line. And one of my first jobs out of high school was a phone operator with those old boards, those old-fashioned boards. And I think I only did that for probably 6 or 8 months. It was so fun. Because it was like I had the headset on. You actually literally pulled the cords out and you could see when someone was calling the operator, and you pushed it in, and then you connected them to directory assistants. Looking back on it now, this has been more than 40 years when I did that job. But you think about when you had your phone. This was even before people had answering machines, so you couldn't call and leave someone a message. So if you were home, the phone rang, the person was there, they answered, great. If not, you tried them back, and then you hope they were home later. And so I think that because we're so connected to our phones and we're so addicted to the convenience of being able to text somebody, let someone know we're on our way, I would suggest starting to pull yourself away from that and give yourself some freedom and some breathe room. It is very, very freeing, and besides, it's very respectful to the people that you're with. If you're with somebody and they're constantly getting notifications and they're ignoring a conversation that you're having because they're just paying attention to the notifications. And what's even worse is when there's a ding, there's like a noise of a notification. To me, that needs to at least put in silent mode if you insist on having your phone with you all the time, right? So every ending has a new beginning. And this kind of goes back to the whole shedding of the skin, right? Deep soul healing has been happening. I feel this is really true for me, that there's been a lot of deep soul healing that has been happening, because I've been forced to turn inward. And I think that during the really hard times, that is when we are forced to turn inward and we have some of our deepest healings. Now, we could go the opposite way. We could start drinking more alcohol. We could start eating foods that numb us out and make us feel temporarily good. We could smoke pot. We could do drugs. You name your poison, right? We could do things that damage us and numb us, or we could take the opportunity to truly have that deep healing. So deep soul healing has been happening. Follow your higher guidance. It's okay to emotionally disconnect from situations that no longer serve you. This has been something really big for me, and really freeing. And it gets easier the more you do it. This new chapter will bring a lot of happiness. I really feel that. I already feel that. Follow your intuitions. There are signs, there's feelings, and there's gut feelings. I keep writing, follow your intuition, trust your intuition. You can't reiterate that piece and the gratitude piece enough. It never is inappropriate to say, follow your intuition, trust it, always be grateful. And I love the piece that came in, wake up feeling fulfilled. I love that. Do not overthink what you know to be true. When you get a feeling, when you know something to be true, don't overthink it. Do not stress about what you know to be true. Do not get sucked into the empty emotions or feelings from the past. The past is the past. Give it grace, give it love, take the lessons from it. Do better if that's what's necessary, but don't get sucked into those emotions and feelings. The things that went wrong, or the things that you had or the things that you'd planned. So I kind of wrote that together. So do not get sucked into the empty emotions or feelings from the past, or the things that went wrong, or the things that you had planned that didn't work out as planned. So don't get sucked into that. To me, regret is one of one of the most wasted emotions, because what regret, maybe you're addicted to the emotion of regret. I regret that I didn't do this when I was raising my kids. I think as a parent, you can always say that. You could always be, I actually, when I was walking with my sister this week, we had, our kids are now all in their 40s. Her kids are in their 40s. Her youngest son just turned 40 last year, and my kids are 40, 41 and 42. And so we were talking about, raising our kids, the things we would have done different. And for just a second, we spiraled into a tiny bit of regret. And we both got a little teary-eyed, because there's things that when you have the experience and the wisdom and you get through it, and then you're also watching your kids raise their kids, and you watch them do it differently and better, But regret is such a wasted emotion, and it's one of those things that would be, really nice to kind of recognize it when it comes in and go and give it grace, and then release it. So there is love here. There is love on this planet. There is love in your community. There is love in your home, especially if you put it there and get yourself in a situation, right? There is a huge opportunity to move into so much love with relationships, situations, work, purpose, and creativity. There is so much of an opportunity. I really don't think we realize it. So we need to shed the old skin. We are being divinely guided into new possibilities and opportunities. We just have to listen. We just have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to the signs. Sometimes I see the same number, and I might look on a clock, or I might see the price on a gas station or a billboard, and I actually have this little book of angel numbers that goes from, I think it goes from 1 up to 999. And if I keep seeing a number, I'll look it up, and it'll be like, oh, there are meaning. Like, I believe there are angels that are giving us signs and messages. It's like, pay attention. It's tapping us on the shoulder. So we are being divinely guided into the new possibilities and opportunities. Nothing is going to pull us down. Take this opportunity to move toward your happiness. Excuse me. The energy feels very clear. That's one thing I picked up when I was writing in my journal this week. The energy that I'm feeling, like that whole sense of calmness and clarity, the energy is starting to feel so clear. And this is what I would say: do the work and let the energy feel clear for you as well. Take the lessons and wisdom that you've gained. It's all going to be worth it. These are transformational times. We already know the answers that we seek. We need to trust, and the trust must be unconditional. When you get that hit of intuition, of guidance, of divine. You get the divine. Trust it. Let it be unconditional. Don't overthink it. Don't let that human brain just take you into overthinking everything. Raise your vibration. Soften and open your heart. Be true to your life path. And then the last thing I wrote here is know that everything will work out for your highest good. And then I wrote one more thing that has to do with, and I'm going to wrap it up with this. And this is basically just the whole shedding of the old, and embracing the new. So spiritual growth is a lifelong journey, and shedding old skin reminds us that we are constantly evolving beings. We are constantly evolving. We don't want to stay stuck. We might think it's comfortable over here, and it might be comfortable, but when you do the new, you get, think about the caterpillar that transforms into a butterfly. Do you think that butterfly would ever want to go back into the cocoon? No. So you have to break out of that cocoon. Shedding old skin reminds us that we are constantly evolving beings. It encourages us to regularly evaluate our beliefs, our values, our goals, and letting go of anything that no longer resonates with who we are becoming. We need to let go of those things that don't serve us anymore. It's a beautiful time to be here, guys. And I thank you for being here with me during these little weekly chats and the things that kind of come through with me. And I hope some of them resonate with you. I do believe that these things that come in on my little daily jot down notes are just a beautiful reminder of how limitless we really are. And this time that we have on earth is quite short. It's quite short. And we get to choose if we make the most of it, if we vibrate in love, if we wake up feeling fulfilled. I love that came through this week. What if you wake up and you're like, this is perfect. If nothing else, if the day goes sideways, it doesn't matter because it's already perfect. It's perfect because I am fulfilled with who I am and what I know about myself. So I hope your day is beautiful, and I hope your week ahead is beautiful as well. I think that we live in the most spectacular time to be alive, and this portal we're going through, it is narrow. It is narrow right now, and there are enough of us who see, and it doesn't take the majority of us to take the collective into this beautiful new earth, a new place where we're going. And it can seem like it's been happening for a long time, and it can seem like, is it ever going to be here? But what we need to realize is that if we let it, it can be here now. And then when it explodes into what it's going to be, then it will be even brighter and more brilliant, right? So I hope your week ahead is amazing. I hope you're enjoying some incredible spring weather like we are here. And let me know what you think about this. I'd love to hear what you think. But I hope you have a beautiful day, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.